Hi, it's me, Jim Walsh on SuperTalk 1270 and SuperTalk1270.com, along with my comical sidekick, good old charming and delightful Uncle Larry Dog from our sister station right next door here, 103.3 U.S. Country. Hello, Uncle Lair.
Hey there, Jim.
You're looking good, sir.
I'm feeling good. It's Friday.
I know you were.
We should feel good.
Are you wearing an Eagles jacket? That's very cool.
I am, and as folks may or may not know, I'm from Louisiana. Been here almost 5 years. So but I've been in the Midwest for almost 12 years.
Yeah.
So just by heart and by nature and by having so many disappointing seasons, I've always been a New Orleans Saints fan.
With the New Orleans Aints.
Right, and recently they've given us a lot more to cheer about. But living here in North Dakota and Carson Wentz doing so well, and having the opportunity to meet Carson Wentz here at the station, and he's such a delightful young man.
Right.
And he's so exciting to play. Yes, I've become a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which is going to be interesting this coming weekend because they play Dallas. And
well, it's easy for me because I don't like Dallas. I never have.
A lot of people don't like Dallas, but Dallas is doing.
It was a little tougher with the Vikings. I will say that because I like the Vikings. Always have.
Well, Dallas.
But I'm a Philly guy.
Well, Dallas is leading in their division, and in second place is Philly. So it's going to be very interesting. I personally think because they're playing in Dallas that Carson is going to have his hands full. So in our Pro Football Pick'em at Town Square Media, I went with my head, not my heart. My heart told me to go with Carson Wentz and the Eagles. My head told me because Dallas has the home field advantage, I should go for Dallas.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
By the way, have you ever been to Dallas? Ever been to see football in Dallas? They have a great stadium there in Irving, Texas.
Yes, I've. It's a big stadium.
It's a big stadium.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that some other time because we have to get to the issue at hand, and I see already the phones are lighting up.
Yep.
We have folks on hold. Hang in there if you're online there, and we'll get to you in just a moment. We want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the pipeline protest situation because things have kind of come to a head in the last couple of days. Yesterday, and we're certainly not happy to report this, but we have reports of gunplay in the area.
Gunfire.
Two apparent occasions where guns were discharged. We have one report of one injury, not a policeman, and apparently not a protester. Maybe he was like an innocent bystander. Maybe, for all I know, it could have been somebody who just went down there to see what it was all about.
Apparently, what I heard is that the injury was from a guy, and I don't know if he was a protester or not, but it was his own gun, and he mistakenly shot himself in the hand.
Okay.
That's the reports that we get. And that is one of the issues that we have here in the press because we are relying on the information that we get, the official information that we get from the press releases from the Martin County Sheriff's Department. And the other issue that we have being with the press is that the press is being kept so far back from all of the protest activity that there is we have no way of confirming the information that we're getting. And then on top of that, there's a no-fly zone. So even if we got one of our drones, to hover over and get some good HD pictures, we aren't able to do that. So when there's such a huge blackout, we have to rely on the information that we get either from protesters or other media that was at the scene. So there's a lot of controversy, and it's even getting national attention. I mean, I saw it this morning on CBS. I saw the incredible.
ABC gave it coverage as well.
I saw the Incredible Hulk. Mark
Ruffalo.
He was on CNN, and he was very, very passionate about his opinion. I mean,
he's not like a lot of these guys who they do the whole thing with one eye on the camera.
Yeah,
I will give him credit. He does seem it's kind of a Bono type of situation where he does seem educated on the subject, and B, he seems to be doing it from a good place.
Yeah. Earlier this morning, we got information from the North Dakota Department of Transportation that 1806 will remain closed, and that bridge, which is on 1806 at the It's called the Backwater Bridge.
That's where the first gun incident happened yesterday.
Well, apparently on that bridge over the creek, it was damaged last night when protesters placed vehicles and other debris on the bridge and set it on fire.
Do you want to go to a phone call?
Yeah, go
because they're already lining up here. So let's jump right in here at 663-1270. We're inviting folks to call in, especially, not exclusively, but especially if you actually have been there and you want to report firsthand what you saw in the last few days. Good afternoon. You're on Super Talk 1270. Go ahead, please. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Be sure and turn down your radio. If you have us on in the background, that will throw you off a bit. Go ahead, sir.
I just have you on the phone. So yesterday, many people do tune into live feeds and different social media postings to see what's going on. Now, with cell phone reception being as bad as it is in North Dakota anyway, we also know that Morton County has set up repeaters for certain cell phones. Now, we are wondering what some of the box devices are besides cameras are on the bottom of those planes. We are pretty certain that our signals get jammed.
Really?
With the actions that happened yesterday, absolutely no one's live feed at all would work. In fact, they're still not working.
I did see a couple of brief live feeds on Facebook from yesterday. Were they maybe from earlier in the day?
Some feeds were trickling through, but however, they would constantly stall out. And so a lot of people are having to do short clips and then uploading them later on.
Yeah.
I know, this is Larry, I know as a fact that authorities have a way to scramble cell phone reception and signals. I mean, I know they have the equipment to do that.
They have the equipment, but it's also against FCC regulations to jam frequencies. So what gives them authority to go ahead and take these frequencies off so people cannot get their information out?
Yeah, assuming they're actually doing it, I suppose the answer they would give is, hey, we're the government. We can do it if we have to. Now, whether they have to get a court order to do that kind of thing, that's beyond my my level of expertise here, way beyond.
So have you been down to the protest site?
Yes, I was near the front lines yesterday. I also am a local reporter on Standing Rock. I occasionally write for the local newspaper, the Indian newspaper, Teton Times.
So do me a favor and
trying to get information back. I figured I best get straight to the front lines and see what's going on for myself.
Do me a favor and give us a sense of what it felt like to be on the front line when you saw all of this equipment and all of the police marching toward the North Camp. Give us a sense of what it felt like.
Well, as you know, there's always multiple sides to any story, and Morton County does keep most of Bismarck-Mandan's media on their side, and they only get fed certain information. There's always multiple sides to every story. Now, when I arrived on the scene, they were blaring. The National Guard had a couple of large, I don't know if you want to call them people carriers. They might as well be tanks.
Right.
You know,
they had some heavy armor equipment.
I saw a Hummer in one of the videos.
And on top of these equipment, they had LRAD, and the LRAD was face to the crowd. Every squad car, every cop car that they could have, every bullhorn, they hit their sirens and made it as loud and obnoxious as possible to try to drive the crowd back with sound.
I did see that on the video. It was like a dog whistle kind of thing, except you could hear it, and it sounded terrible.
Right.
these are directed impulses that they could actually steer right towards a person's head, where if you were to fire an LRAD right at a person and move that LRAD just 2-3 feet to the left, you wouldn't even hear that, It wouldn't paralyze you as such. But with this amount of police force, this military action is pretty new for our area around here, and of course it is scary for both sides.
Yeah. We're going to have to move on in a second here. We do want to thank you for your input. By all means, feel free to check back in with us. You can contact us at our website and let us know about any new developments. Would you do that for us?
Yeah, I can try giving an update once in a while.
Thank you very much for your comments, sir. Local representative of the local Native American media there. The number here is 663-1270. We're talking about, in particular, the events of the last couple of days at the pipeline protest. Good afternoon. You're on SuperTalk 1270. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and thanks for taking the call. This is Chase Iron Eyes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
the candidate,
I'm currently
Chase
running
Iron.
for United States Congress.
Oh, yes.
And I live south of the proposed pipeline route, and south of the site of the police violence and protester,
right?
Activities as well, unlawful activities. And I just wanted to call in and kind of remind everyone that there's a lot going on, and things are really tense. People were shot with rubber bullets. They were shot with beanbags. Some horses were shot dead from what appeared is a Dakota Access security guard tried to run over one of the protesters, and protesters slammed their vehicles into the security guard's vehicle.
Yeah.
And pushed his vehicle toward the river. He jumps out, and he's wielding what appeared to be an AR-15 assault rifle.
I
arrested.
I actually saw a video of that exact instance that you're talking about.
So, look, I remember when this started. I started my campaign, and it's come to a point now where it's obvious. I've done all that I could. First, being kind of bullied or hounded and peppered by the protest community, asking me, when are you going to stand with your people? When are you going to come out against the pipeline? That started the minute I began my run for United States Congress. And now, on the other side, I have people asking me, how come I can't diffuse this situation? How come you can't, as a Native American leader, convince these outsiders to go home, convince people to pack up shop and go home? And so it's just been really difficult. I approached Governor Dalrymple man-to-man, face-to-face at his first press conference where he activated the National Guard. This was following the brutal dog attacks of September 3rd.
Yeah, with the unlicensed dog, as we later learned.
Mm-hmm. And so, at that time, all I wanted to hear from Governor Dalrymple is that he would be willing to call stakeholders to the table. This includes Dakota Access executives. This includes the chairpersons, at least, of the Standing Rock and Cheyenne River Sioux tribes. This includes a couple of protest camp representatives, whoever they are. It's obvious there's not a good leadership structure there, and the Standing Rock doesn't have control of what's going on. I mean, what happened yesterday is like the Watts riot.
It sounded to me like
I was in Minot campaigning, but
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you just used the R word, and we're very concerned about that. Would you really call what happened yesterday a riot or a riot-type event? Because a lot of people are concerned, there's a lot of people have been throwing that word around rather loosely, so I want to address that specifically.
Well, I believe that, the protesters responded to a highly militarized police. But yes, I mean, I don't know if it was it wasn't a riot, but lots of cars were set afire.
Yeah.
And things were done that only seek to kind of escalate the situation. But I went to the governor to ask if he'd help me pull these people together. He said he would, but he's done nothing to bring Dakota Access to the table. I went to the Petroleum Council to try to track these guys down, because if we don't start talking about a reroute, hopefully we don't see anything tragic happen.
Chase,
because what we're asking is for a community to go ahead and sacrifice itself and just be south of the pipeline, be downstream from it.
Chase, let me ask you a question. You brought up a situation that we've heard repeatedly, that the campground is not being, for the lack of a better word, managed properly. Can you spend a little more time talking about that? Because there are a lot of people saying that the people that are managing and are operating and are running this campground are not running it sufficiently and are fair. Right.
Well, I think that they're, to what I can tell, they're doing the best they can. And but what's becoming evident is that the same thing that happened 150 years ago when, European Americans made treaties with Indians, and they always wanted to deal with one chief because their political structure kind of espouses a hierarchy.
Right.
And with Indian people, it's never been that way. I mean, especially for these guys who are there, the Sioux tribes.
Right.
And so what we're seeing is that nobody really has control. And when some actors are taking these extreme measures, like setting these vehicles on fire, I don't know what to say, but I can. It is tense, but it's also bringing out the point that the governor has no incentive to do a reroute or to halt construction. I mean, our state is completely bought by big oil. I mean, 70% of our legislators are in their pockets. And so we can't expect them to make decisions, to accept contributions, campaign contributions, and then make decisions that go against the hand that feeds them. And that's what's happening. We've kind of lost our roots here in North Dakota, and we forgot what made us, what built us.
Chase, let me ask you this. Does it seem like a lot of the instigators and troublemakers are coming from outside of the state?
Yeah, I only know that because of what the things that Morton County is putting out. They put out a little map and had a graphic about where all the arrestees are coming from, and they're definitely from out of state. But that doesn't really. Standing Rock is going to catch the bad rap for that.
Yeah, well, they already have.
It doesn't matter where these guys are from. Like, nobody really cares when they see cars burning and bridges burning, and then Standing Rock is going to catch the rap for that.
So, Chase, let me ask you this because we're up against a break. What in your mind, Chase, what do you think the solution to this is?
We have to talk about a reroute. If we don't talk about a reroute, we as North Dakotans, we should be interested in protecting our water resource, because all forms of economic activity flow directly from our water resources, our farming, ranching, every industry that we have. But we're not seeing leadership from our politicians. What we're seeing is them doing the bidding of these companies. And I think that, we really need to remember that we're going to be here after this thing is done. When it's all over, said and done, North Dakotans are going to be left to take the pieces up. And so that's what I'm most concerned about. I'm not even worried about the election right now. Like, I'm worried about where we're going to be when this thing is done.
Chase, you know what? We have to take a break, but you know what? We certainly appreciate you calling, and Good luck with everything, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling. We'll take some more calls in just a bit here. 663-1270. We're expecting a call from an activist named Claudia Stauber, who has taken a very active interest in this subject. And we'll get Ms. Stauber on the phone hopefully in a couple of minutes here, and we'll continue here at Super Talk 1270.
Right now, 58.
News headlines and weather together, live on Super Talk 1270.
Jim Walsh along with Lair Dog. Larry, can we say your real name?
Yeah, you can.
Larry LeBlanc, the Raging Cajun, as I like to call him, Uncle Lair. And we're talking on a serious note about what's going on at the pipeline situation. We decided we would take an hour this afternoon and talk about it because obviously things are kind of coming to a head there. Yesterday, we had some gunplay.
Yeah, not only that, what the interesting thing for us is being with the media. It almost seems as though, not quite, but it almost seems like a complete blackout of the type of information that we can get. The media and general public is being held back.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that's for safety reasons.
Well, the thing where they shot down the drone, and then the FAA says you can't put any more drones up there.
Right. Because
which smelled kind of hinky to a lot of people. Because
as a company, we have a drone that we can get some HD pictures, and it would have been nice to, with any situation, it's always nice to have another pair of eyes.
Yeah, not to get heavy-handed here. The George Orwell thing is the ultimate cliche that everybody falls upon. It's like getting in a political argument and comparing your opponent to Hitler. It's been done so many times, it's lost its power. But as I noted on the air the other day, when you have the police shooting down a drone that's basically watching them watching us.
Right.
That doesn't sit too well with a lot of us who are genuinely concerned about the civil liberties issues here.
Yeah. So, and the whole thing is getting to a point where it started off as a peaceful protest.
Yes.
And with some of the situations that we've had in the last few days,
guns.
And
Molotov cocktails reported yesterday.
And in the eyes of the national media, because the national media, this is getting some national attention, it seems all but a peaceful protest.
Yeah, again, I think a lot of people were concerned. I was certainly concerned when certain local authorities started throwing that R word around.
Right.
And I'm even hesitant to say it here because I don't want to feed into all the speculation and the rumor mongering, but you know the word I'm talking about.
Right.
And up until the last couple of days, certainly what I saw on the videos, and what about you? You were at the courthouse a few days ago, right?
Right.
What did you see there? Was anything close to the R word?
Nope. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So up until the last couple of days, that to me has been, I've been extremely concerned, and you have to wonder if throwing words around like this, unnecessarily in the opinions of many, is not just kind of feeding in to the bad vibes, if you will, and making it into a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And we just had Chris on the air earlier, and it would be... it would be really nice if both sides can come together and talk. Now, if you ask some officials with Morton County, they say that they tried that.
You're talking Chris Mitchell?
No, Chris Iron Eyes.
Chase Iron Eyes.
Chase
Iron Eyes.
Sorry.
Because Chris Mitchell is the director of Indian Affairs. We did call him, and we invited him to call in. We may hear from him before the end of the hour.
All right.
And we also may hear from Radley Balco, who is a columnist for Reason Magazine, a national columnist, who wrote that column in the Washington Post last week calling for basically some kind of action to be taken regarding our prosecutor, Mr. Erickson, saying that his allegations and his handling of this situation has been, I'm trying to remember the exact word he used, but basically he was not happy with it.
Right. And I know a lot of the residents that live in that area. That is, we've got some farmers and some ranchers, and they make their livelihood off of the land there. But I know that a lot of farmers and ranchers are very concerned about what's going on because it's very difficult for them to get their for them to get their job done. And, tensions.
Then we had the cattle thing. People's cattle getting slaughtered.
Yeah. And,
shot at or
so
whatever.
When you have situations like that.
Yeah. And we don't know who did it.
No, we don't.
We don't know.
But you just have to wonder, at what point will this come to a head? Where will it all end? I think, unfortunately, a lot of us know that pipeline's going to go in.
Oh, yeah. Sooner or later. I've been saying that all along, and I take no pleasure in saying it. The efforts of the what they call themselves the water protectors, in the long run, they are, I am sorry to say, odds-on favorite to lose in this game.
Yeah.
Because possession is, even you go into the philosophical arguments about who owned the land first. Well, possession is 9/10 of the law. We have to deal with the real world as it is today.
Right.
And as Joel Heitkamp noted a couple of weeks ago, there has been a sense of, I don't know, not make-believe, but a lot of the folks on that side of the issue have not been overly realistic about their expectations. Mm-hmm. So we'll just have to see what happens.
And if you remember, when this whole thing was being discussed, first they wanted to have the pipeline go north of Bismarck.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, no.
Oh, no.
No. So now.
And you can't blame them for being cynical when you hear how that was handled.
No, exactly.
You can't blame them a bit.
And then when you stop and realize that it was probably about 10 years ago where we had the Deepwater Horizon incident in the Gulf of Mexico. Now that affected a lot of my friends and family that make a living off the Gulf Coast of.
You're from that part of the country.
A lot of my friends and family make a living off the Gulf Coast of Louisiana. Now, 10 years later, the Gulf Coast is coming back, shrimp, crabbing, fishing, that's all coming back. And then about 20, 25 years ago, I'm not sure, we had the Exxon Valdez,
right,
which had that huge spill on
88, 89.
On the Alaskan coast.
Yeah.
So it takes a very long time for the environment and the ecosystem to come back when you have a catastrophe like that.
Right.
So some people...
Plus it affects the public.
Right.
In the short term, the public is galvanized in a certain direction. You see these TV stories. You turn on 60 Minutes and you see a picture of a baby seal covered with oil and muck.
Right.
And it breaks your heart.
Yeah, it does.
And that affects a lot of people in the way they think about this, at least in the short term.
Right. So I had someone mention to me yesterday that the discussion should be, what stop measures can we put in place if this happens?
Yeah.
Instead of discussing not putting the pipeline in, the discussion should be, what guarantees do we have if a catastrophe does happen? Because unfortunately, and I don't have a horse in this race. I mean, I just want a peaceful settlement of the whole thing. But I think the person I spoke to yesterday brought up a very good point. I think everybody realizes that at the end of the day, this pipeline will go through somewhere.
Somewhere.
And the discussion should be, what guarantees do we have that, and what type of response will we have if there is a major catastrophe?
Now, realistically, I would have to say, again, we're not going to get overly opinionated here. We're going to try to kind of walk the fine line. We're walking on eggs a little bit here this afternoon. But I will say, I am of the opinion that we are not getting the full story on this. And I don't necessarily smell a conspiracy where it's gone on. I'm not going to get all Alex Jones and wacky here. Mm-hmm. Alex Jones, he's that conspiracy theory guy. But I will say this. I think, we do have broadcast journalists in this town. Let's be honest. A lot of them aren't very good. To be fair, a lot of them are very young. They're not well paid. They're in like their first or second job in the business or fresh out of college with their journalism degrees, and they're just trying to find their way. They're trying to learn their craft, and they're learning on the job. And maybe or maybe not, it's a case of their mentors properly, a lot of them were never properly trained either.
Right.
So to be fair about it, you have a lot of young people out there who are very inexperienced, who are trying to cover this. And I'm just going to go out and say what I'm thinking. What you have in a lot of cases, not everywhere, There are exceptions, but in a lot of cases in this town, in this state, what you're getting is not so much journalism, but talking heads reading press releases.
And that's not just in this area. I mean, that's
it's everywhere
nationwide,
to an extent.
So, yeah.
And it goes into a whole barrel of issues that are really beyond the purview of what we're talking about. But when people talk about the fact that, no, we're not getting the full story, in particular, I am of the opinion that the protester side of the story is not getting its full hearing. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, you are entitled to agree to disagree or what. That's up to you.
Right.
But we will... That's another reason why I think every once in a while we should do this, especially with this particular issue. Just sit here for an hour, give folks the opportunity to call in, as they have, at 663-1270, and just weigh in on the situation, especially, not exclusively, but especially if you've been there. That's the thing. Everybody's saying, well, what about the people who are actually there physically and have experienced this? What are they saying about what's going on? You know, because you can look at a video and draw any kind of conclusion you like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And by no means are we saying the information that we're getting from the officials is not correct. But it's always nice to have an opportunity for everybody to voice their opinion.
Number is 663-1270. I believe we have another call. Good afternoon. Go right ahead. You're on SuperTalk 1270.
Yeah, I really agree that you're not getting the full story. We're not getting it because a few years ago, my brother and two other people got sprayed with benzene, and within 3 years, they all three died of leukemia. Pardon?
What brought this about? Why were you sprayed?
Well, he was up at the gas plant up there, and it was human air.
Oh, okay.
And but you know, I mean, they did everything they were supposed to do, give them showers and everything, but they still died of leukemia.
Yeah, right.
And there's a large amount of benzene and trilene or xylene in that crude oil, and there's also heavy metal in there, which will never come to the surface. It'll go down into the mud, and that's where it's going to stay. And that's mercury and arsenic.
Right.
So, I mean, and then another thing I'd like to see get clarified is they're talking about double wall across the river. Well, what's double wall really mean?
Double wall, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean around the pipeline?
Think it's two pipe, but I don't think it is.
We appreciate your call, sir. Thank you very much. 663-1270. We apologize for cutting folks a little bit short here, but we do want to get as many calls in as possible. And we'll go to another line here. Good afternoon. You're on Super Talk 1270. Go right ahead.
Yes, it's my opinion. Okay, I'm a white person. I'm not even Native American.
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
And what I'm just saying is that people don't want to listen to when you say, okay, this is just going to be a Standing Rock reservation that the pollution's going to happen to. They don't think, a lot of people don't think that the pollution's going to be all the way down to the ocean. They don't think that everything's going to be polluted.
Yeah.
And that's what really upsets me about the whole situation.
It's the old Rachel Carson Silent Spring argument that, you know, the ramifications are much bigger than what you're really seeing here.
Yes, they only think, well, it's only going to happen to the reservation. It's going to happen all the way down.
Yeah.
All the way down. So
from
go ahead.
From that, I would deduce then that you're just not crazy about the idea of putting it anywhere. Because, again, if you put it north of town, as many people would like to do,
no,
you don't want it.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't go across the river. No.
Okay.
That's the way I feel about it.
Okay.
So is there another way to transport this oil outside of this pipeline?
I don't know. Would it be better to build another another plant that's straight down? You know, that they wouldn't have to cross the river or what? But that river is one of our major sources, and it should not be. It should not go across there. That's the way I feel.
See, the thing is, the oil is where it is, and for us to get it from where it is to where we want to have it, it's going to have to go over some water at some point, realistically.
I get either that or they can continue using rail. You know, I mean,
which has some risks of its own, as we have seen in this state. The last couple of years.
Transporting that type of product has risks. Any way that you transport it, there is risk. So, ma'am, where exactly do you live in relative to where the pipeline is?
I live in Bismarck.
Okay.
All right. See, I live on the north side of Bismarck.
Right.
Thank you for the call, ma'am. Number 663-1270. I live on the north side of Bismarck. Mm-hmm. I'm off of Century, not too far from Century where it meets Washington. And I don't know, the idea of having the pipeline up near me doesn't really bother me. I just really don't give it a whole lot of thought.
You know, with as much as I love to fish and as much as I love to play in...
I love having the river right down the road.
As much as I love to play in the Missouri River. And once again, having friends and family that were affected by the Deepwater Horizon, am I concerned? Yeah. But I'm very concerned about the situation that is currently going on. Yeah. And is there a resolution to where lives are not in jeopardy?
Yeah.
And I don't know if there is enough discussion or conversations to bring this to some type of peaceful resolution.
I think it's new to a lot of the people who live here. This is the kind of thing that a lot of places dealt with in the 60s. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get on a big trip about the 60s, man. But back then you had a lot of people who were used to people just going along and getting along and going along with the okie doke. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people decided they weren't happy with the way things were, rightfully or wrongfully, in whatever case, be it the war, civil rights, whatever. And they started taking this action. And the powers that be at the time were just not ready for it. They were not used to dealing with this kind of situation, so they overreacted in their own way. They got scared.
You know, someone just sent me a tweet, and from someone said that the North Dakota Highway Patrol gave them a chance to leave to move south. They were encouraged to move to the main camp area south of the North Camp location, and if they would not leave, they would get arrested.
Yeah,
that's not the type of discussion I'm talking about, but
right.
I mean, at least there is some type of this. There has to be some resolution. And I don't know if we are even close to a resolution without there being some type of physical conflict.
I don't know if it's a matter of just grabbing the top people from both sides of it, including possibly the governor and chairman, and just slamming them in a room together and say, come on, you don't get out until you work it out.
There are a lot of people that have been wondering where the governor has been. And he finally made a statement.
Part of the problem is the governor's a lame duck. He probably just wants his job to be over with so he can go home and play with his grandchildren.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not intending to insulting him, but that's probably what's going through his mind. He says, if I can just ride this out a few more weeks, it's going to be the next guy's problem.
Right. And then the other problem, as someone sent us an email saying that the unlawful blockage of 1806, that is an unlawful act.
Yeah. Technically it is. I mean, technically, right. Yes, they are breaking the law.
Right.
And the police have the right under the law to take an appropriate level of action. The governor thing, what I was about to say, I mean, if that is what he's thinking, and I can't second guess the governor, I don't know the man. I knew his predecessor a little bit better. We'd had some conversations. The gentleman who is now senator, Mr. Hoeven. Mm-hmm. But I don't know Governor Dalrymple well at all. I would hope that he's not just kind of dragging this along. I would hope that he's a better person than that, and he is going to take some decide. Or maybe he just doesn't know how to. Again, maybe it's a case he just doesn't know how to handle it because it's never been.
Maybe he feels like he has handled it by by putting it in the law's hands.
And with all due respect, if he feels that way, I believe he's wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm not here to say he's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just stating facts.
Yeah, I'm just stating my opinion, as it were. That's all it is. I'm not the world's greatest expert. I'm just, like I say in my talk show, I'm just a butthead with a lot of opinions.
Yeah. There's a lot of that I agree with.
Yeah, well, I know you agree with the first part of it. Let's not go there. Let's take a break, and then we'll wrap up here in a few more minutes. We got time to squeeze in a couple of more calls if you like.
Yep.
The number here is 663-1270, and of course, this is being recorded, which means we will have it available later as a podcast to listen to at your leisure on the SuperTalk1270.com website. Do we have a call? Yeah, let's grab a call here before the break.
That before the break.
Good afternoon. Thanks for calling. We have a few minutes here. You're on SuperTalk. Whoops. Okay, let's try the number here. Hi, you're on SuperTalk 1270. Turn down your radio, please. Turn down your radio. Hi, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Deepwater Horizon didn't happen. Exxon Valdez didn't happen.
It didn't happen?
Yeah, it didn't happen, did it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of oil.
The technology is all there, but the thing is, who listens to it and who neglects it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we're going with this. I mean, in the case of Exxon Valdez, I think everybody pretty much agreed that Exxon, in that particular case, it was the drunk sea captain. And so he's responsible. By extension, the guys who employed him certainly had to be responsible.
Right. And the double-hull tankers that would have prevented it were too expensive for the poor tanker outfits or shipping companies to afford them. And Deepwater Horizon, they neglected to watch what was going on, and there was inspectors that warned them about this.
Yeah.
But it was a thing of money. That's what happens with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But isn't that always the case? Follow the money.
Yeah, it's the way of the world. I mean, like it or not, we live in that kind of world. We have to. How do we deal with it? That's the question. I'm not saying I like it either, but how do you deal with it? What do you do?
Well, what are you going to do with the Gulf of Mexico? You know, are you going to clean it up? You can't clean it up. And you like eating shrimp that are tainted with oil?
I certainly don't.
You know,
I'm not a shrimp person anyway.
It's preventive maintenance is what it is in legislation. We talk about the rule of law. The rule of law, like down there at the Cannonball Ranch, the people in North Dakota voted 70-some% against corporate farming, and what are we doing? We're observing the rule of law through the Attorney General on purchasing that land. You know, I mean, the rule of law is applied by equal amounts. Depends on who you are and how much money you got, whether you got equal law or not.
But you bring up a very good point, because we haven't talked about that. But in terms of corporate farming, there's a lot of there's a lot of controversy about that because of how the Cannonball Ranch was sold.
Yeah.
And the thing is about the corporate business is the people that are more or less insiders or work for the state, and you can't. If I wanted to purchase it for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, the governor would have his nose in it up to his ears.
This is a great call. I'm glad you called, sir, and I'll tell you why. Because you've done, without even trying, you've done a great job of capturing, crystallizing, if you will, the frustrations, the feelings of a lot of people on this particular subject. And I thank you for, we have to move on. I thank you for joining us this afternoon. Let's take our break.
All right.
663-1270, just a couple more minutes here. We'll continue. We're talking about what's been happening at the campsite with the pipeline and the protest. SuperTalk 1270.
Right now, 62.
News headlines and weather together. Live on SuperTalk 1270.
Jim Walsh and Larry LeBlanc, the ever-popular Lair Dog.
Yeah.
Wrapping up here. We got about a couple of minutes. I just want to say that this program, we've been talking about the pipeline. If you're just now punching in, we will talk about this again in the near future, but more to the point for now, this program is recorded. We will have it available. I'll get it up over the weekend on the website, supertalk1270.com, so you can hear some of the things that were said. And next time, you can certainly respond in kind.
Yeah, we want to thank the folks that called, and sorry if we couldn't get you on. But, within with a topic like this and a situation that affects so many people, not only locally but within the state, this is such an emotional issue. Jim thought it was a good idea to spend an hour to talk about this, and I said, heck yeah, it's a great idea because there are so many people that have so many different varied opinions on it. And, I think the most important thing at this point is what is the resolution, and is there a peaceful resolution, and how can we get there?
I can't help but think that there is a way to work this out. I just don't know who's going to come forward to do it.
Yeah, and, the other question that a lot of people have emailed us is there too much force being applied to the situation? And I guess the force is in response to the situation they have. Yeah.
Thanks again for calling in. Your comments welcome at the website. We'll have this up as a podcast over the weekend, SuperTalk1270.com. Mr. Brandmeier coming up next.
Yes.
Thanks again for listening.